Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Repurpose Live, where we inspire you to live on purpose and to create a life that you love by design. My name is Lissa Figgins, and it's my mission to help women like you to design your life in 7 key areas so you can experience balance and growth and live out your purpose to have a greater impact. And it's my intention each and every week to introduce you to an amazing woman who is not only inspiring, but is also on this journey with us as well to living a repurposed life. And so today I am so excited to introduce you to my friend Alicia. Alicia Connor is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and chef, and she is passionate about helping others to have a lifestyle shift and focus on meal planning and simplify healthy eating. So if you are already saying, yes, I need that, you are in the right place. What I love about her story, though, is not just the health side of it, but that as a young adult, when she was facing hereditary vision loss, that's when she pivoted and decided that she was going to take control with this new career that would make a difference in the lives of other people. So if you want to move away from that diet mindset and start building a tool of all kinds of strategies to help you reduce stress and increase your peace of mind, then you are in the right place. So Alicia, thank you so much for joining us today. I always like to start off by hearing a little bit of your story as to how you got to helping people with meal planning and simplifying healthy eating, and why you're doing that today.
Awesome. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much. And so basically I worked as a chef, a cook and a chef for many years. And as my vision, as you mentioned, started to decline and it was slow, and like I learned how to drive and it was just a slow, gradual reduction of this vision loss over time. When I was cooking, I started having a hard time like rating meal tickets, and I knew I had to do something else so that I could work, right? And most of the jobs I've ever had, I actually enjoyed, I didn't necessarily enjoy being a cashier, but at the same time, it was like a simple enough job or whatever. But so we all have to have jobs like that anyway. There's a purpose to that, right?
Right. Yep.
There's lots of lessons too.
For sure.
So I went back to school to become a dietitian because I remember when I was working at restaurants, people would be like, "Oh my God, the food is so good." And I thought to myself privately, like, it's simple food. It's not rocket science. I know not everybody knows how to cook, but I really felt strongly that anybody really could throw simple ingredients together and make an amazing meal. And it's about the quality of the ingredients and just, having a few ingredients. You only need like 4 to 6 ingredients to put something together that's just delicious. And so I had that feeling of like, I could empower other people to do this and at home. And since we all need to eat. And so I went back to school to become a dietitian. It took me a long time because my vision loss slowed down the progress and I had to work at the same time, etc. And I just, when I got my first job as an outpatient dietitian doing nutrition counseling, I didn't have enough time to talk about meal planning or like how to just, some people would do like 2 pots on the stove and then like 1 thing in the oven. I'm like, why don't you do it all in the oven? With 1 sheet pan, right? There's sheet pan meals now. And so it's just less is more wherever you can. And then you'll have less dishes and then you'll be less grumpy.
Yes, less dishes definitely includes less grumpy for sure. I love that.
Yeah. So anywhere you can like cut out some time. And if you have like a stocked kitchen, then you can eat meals much easier than like, oh, you have to go grocery shopping every week and get like all this stuff. And it's just like anywhere that you can cut off any time and reduce the multiple lists of tasks that we have to do every week. And so after a while, I figured out like I have all this information in my brain. It kind of felt like I was not sharing enough. So I remember feeling like once in a while I would share some cooking tips, and then I was like, gosh, I need like a resource. So I created my YouTube channel. And so there's some videos that are like captions set to music. And so that was the best I could do at that time. They're kind of fancy and there's really fun music. And but they're not accessible to the blind and visually impaired because it's captions set to music. So they wouldn't theoretically be helpful for me, but I made them. So it'll be a work in progress to get those described and turned into a video for anybody with vision impairment. But so it's on my list of things to do. And I have other videos since the pandemic started. April 2020, I started filming lots of other type, me talking to the audience, you out there in the world, just different recipes. And I don't necessarily show how to cook because I'm not skilled in filming in that way. I hope to have a videographer. That's on my list of things to achieve. And so just simple recipes like enchilada sauce. I created an enchilada sauce for somebody who's gluten-free because I guess there's the white flour is used to thicken enchilada sauce sometimes. And so I use carrots.
Wow. Who would have thought, right?
I know. And carrots are sweet. So they add the sweetness. You want the sweetness in there. And I use some raisins as well. So I really I think about the recipes that I create, think about how to make them with less of the stuff that we don't want and delicious. And if I can squeeze in some vegetables, because I know everybody benefits from hidden vegetables.
Right. I remember I had a book when my kids were little and I forget what it was called, but it was something about how to sneak vegetables in. And it was a mom who had figured out all these ways to use vegetables in everyday recipes and your kids would never know. And so like, yeah, that was like my mission was how many ways can I fit vegetables in for my kids? And now they'll eat, they eat them obviously, on their plate. But back in the day, sometimes you had to get creative.
You do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Whatever you got to do to I'm a huge fan of helping people walk over the bridge and meet them where they are. And then just slowly, sometimes they're kind of looking at the other side of the bridge and they're not quite there. And then eventually they'll get there.
Right. Yeah.
But really what I saw was this opportunity, right? I had the skill and I couldn't share it in nutrition counseling sessions that are covered by insurance. And so I was like, I need to create this resource. So I love filling gaps. I see a need and I fill it. And then if I can't fill it because I don't have enough time, there's friction. And I'm like, oh, I gotta fill the gap.
Right. Which is a good thing because then people like you and me, we step into that gap and we say, hey, I can serve in this gap and help bridge the gap for people to go from where they are to where they want to be. So I love that. So before we get into the health side of things, I want to go back to just a couple of pieces of your story because it really resonates with the theme that we have on this podcast. So we talk about being repurposed, and you and I were just having a conversation before we started recording about what does that mean, right? And what I've been doing is when I've been typing out the word, I've been making the re part small. So purposed is in all caps. And whenever you put re in front of a word, it means you're coming back to something. So what I think is so interesting is that there are lots of things that make us come back to our purpose in life. It could be a major milestone birthday. For me, it was turning 40. That's why this is called Repurposed After 40. For some people, it's an anniversary of something either positive or negative. For some people, it's a job loss or the death of a family or member or loved one or a crisis, right? It could be a diagnosis. It could be 9/11. It could be COVID. I mean, there's so many things that can make us just wake us up and make us rethink our purpose and kind of come back to that. And oftentimes redesign what that looks like because of this new chapter that we're going into. So I want to go back to you and what happened with your vision and how that changed things for you and kind of why you didn't stay in that woe is me place, but you decided I'm going to be proactive. What can I do even with this change in my vision to show up and serve? So were you ever tempted before that to kind of oh, well, my life is just going to be, this is kind of the level I'll be able to get to, and this is all I'll be able to do? Or are you the type of person that kind of always sees possibilities and was just ready to embrace that next challenge and chapter?
I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't easy, but basically when I was told, so I was 19 years old when I was told I was going to have this vision condition and it's optic nerve atrophy, basically. So these are blue light glasses. I can't see better with the glasses. If you were to meet me in person, you'd have no idea unless you saw me with my phone
Sure.
or my computer is all magnified. And I can ride a bike, but I can't drive.
Okay.
I carefully ride a bike.
Right.
I'm not aggressive. But I've been riding bike for transportation since 6th grade. So it's been lots of decades. So I also know when I would need to give it up. But so I was like, okay. The only thing the doctor told me was that it was going to be a slow progression and I was going to have to give up my driver's license eventually.
Mm.
And so I had like, that's it. And I was off on my way.
Thanks for all the help, right?
Like no letter or anything. Like, this is who to contact for more information or anything. I was like, okay.
Right.
So, but he gave me very helpful information. At some point, I would not be able to drive, and I would have to give up my license. Right.
Mm.
So that was I just knew it was going to be helpful to me to deal with that as soon as possible, to not procrastinate it. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why I knew that, but it just was natural to me. Like, okay, well, that's it. I guess this is my last driver's license.
Mm.
So like, I got my driver's license when I was like, I don't know, like say 15 and a half, like as soon as you could, I got it, even though I didn't really need it because I lived in Boston, but it was what a friend and I did. And so that was like my first driver's license. And so I was like, okay, well, when I need to renew, I just won't. And that'll be it. Decision made. And so that I didn't have to go through the struggle. Somehow I knew that was like a protective thing to be like on the other side of the decision sooner, given that I knew I had no idea what the vision loss would be. Right. That was the thing. I was like, okay, well, I might as well just let go. Like, I'm kind of like tingly now, like let go of the decision or the thing, because also I think that the whole driving situation is underappreciated. It's a big deal. And a lot of times people are like not paying attention, or, drinking and driving, and just like not smart stuff is happening when people are driving. And I know some people are capable of talking on the phone and driving or whatever, but like maybe not everybody.
They think they are, right? Yeah. Texting and driving, another no, right?
Exactly. And like, I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but like legit, like seriously, people die like all the time. And so I just had like this respect for driving, and I had plenty of shenanigans with my experience driving. And like, it just, I had the fender bender. First time I had a fender bender, I was like, oh my God, like I had a heart attack, and it all worked out. It was fine. The car that I was driving was like a piece of metal. So nothing happened to my car, but, like little things are like, whoa, this is a big deal. And I just don't think it's respected as much. And knowing that like now I can't drive, like the folks that do, I have to rely on other people to drive or use Lyft or whatever. And it's so I don't have that freedom. So I gave up that freedom early, knowing that like there was this other bigger thing that I was going to have to deal with in the future, which was like much more complex than the act of driving.
What I love about that story is that you chose, right? So instead of feeling like it was, even though in a way it was being taken from you, right? You didn't like wait up until the moment where now it's being ripped out of your hands and you're like trying to hold on. Like, you willingly were in control of that decision to say, you know what? This is just something I'm going to choose to let go of before it's taken from me by this life circumstance. And I think that really says a lot about just you saying, I'm not going to let this just happen to me. I am going to use this opportunity to say, like, why is this happening for me? And how can I grow through this? And how can I just, put this piece behind me, because it's not going to be a part of this next chapter, and just fully focus on the next chapter. So when you then made this transition to, really being able to fill this gap that you saw, I love how you were talking about how you would talk with people about nutrition, but you couldn't do enough to really get them to that, like, I could actually do it myself thing. So why do you think that so many people, and I love your illustration of the bridge, right? So why do you think so many people are on that one side of the bridge and want to be on the other side, or think or know they should be, right? Because we all know health and healthy choices is where we should be. We know enough, but there's this gap between the knowing and the doing. So let's talk about kind of why is there that big chasm, that gap between there that keeps people on that side?
Honestly, I think one of the major things is making assumptions about what we must do, like what it looks like, oh, I'm going to have to X, Y, Z. We make up some sort of story.
Yes.
And that story is different for everybody.
I think the biggest ones I hear, it's going to cost me a lot of time. It's going to cost me a lot of money. And I don't know enough. Like those are the three things I think, right? In anything that is new, we just automatically assume this is going to be more than I have in those three areas. And I'm just not going to get started. Right.
Right. Like I'm going to need a Costco membership. I don't have a Costco membership because I don't drive.
Right. And you're one person, right? So,
and so yeah, so I think making assumptions and stories, because we do that a lot as humans, like, oh, I'm going to have to go to the gym to exercise, but really we don't. We just need to leave our house, or you could stay in your home. There's stuff
right. There are options.
You can, I had one of my patients a long time ago, he told me when he was like super ripped that he was all about elevation. He's like a software engineer guy. So he's like all about numbers and like tracking. And he told me that one of his things was doing stairs, and he had 100 ripped up pieces of paper, and he put them at the top of the stairs, and he would do 100, like one piece of paper, one piece of paper, one piece of paper. And I was like, that's how you do it. You just make it happen. You go outside the box and you figure it out. Yeah. And so I think, so one is making assumptions, and then two, like time management. So I think as like kids and teenagers and, you know, like throughout the whole lifespan, I think that their time management should be like one of like the, like constant things that we learn. Because if we got that down, so like, and like your 7Fs, right? Like, how do we do the 7Fs? Like teach people to do the 7Fs, like when they're an adult, because so many things, like, I often describe that we're holding on to our health journey or our health plan, right? And everybody has their own. And then like you don't want to hold on to it too tight. That's like a diet, right? Where you're like, oh, everything super OCD situation, right? Or super particular, and like, oh my God, I can't have that. And like you go to a party and I can't have that. And then somebody's like, oh, can you have this? And you're like, no.
And then it's like, no fun, right? You're no fun to be around, and you're cranky, like doing dishes.
Yeah. And so, so hold on, right? And what are the things that you hold on to, no matter what you're in? It doesn't matter where you are, could be in Paris or Italy, or, you know, traveling for business or traveling for fun, with the most challenging family member on the planet or person or whatever. Like, or like when I talk to about my vision loss, sometimes I get kind of like when now I'm fine, but like later on I'll be like, it's kind of a big deal to be me. You know what I mean? And that's good. That's healthy. Right. And, so holding on, but once you let go, then what happens? Like, then it's you get lost in the suburbs. And, but basically like having a system of, catching yourself, and basically your health or whatever you want to focus on, that is your priority. So you do you when you have to take care of other people. And so I think it's like your structure, like there's the 7Fs, right? Or some people use like a house. I just did this really cool, my first interview for Quick and Delish Life Conversations, with this clinical nutritionist who's a reverend, and she's like a musician. She's all these things, and she's just wonderful. So the conversation was about how she structures meal planning, and she taught her kids to do some of the cooking and participate in the family, because that's what they do. So it's built in. And she said she uses this house. So she used to draw it on a piece of paper, like a stick house. And it's her heart, her mind. She does something every day for her heart, her mind, her body, and her spirit or soul. And then there's a little like walkway to her neighbor. So the neighbor could be like the neighbor next door, or like the neighbor in India or whatever. Love
that, right? Because whatever you put your attention towards is what you become, right? And what will grow.
If you say today is horrible, what's going to happen? It's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
But if you say it's going to be okay, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to smile.
Yeah, it always starts with our focus, with our attention, with our attitude towards it, with our perspective on it. And, you know, like you said, healthy eating can sound or seem like this is going to completely change my life. And we look at like the negative things, like we look at what we think it's going to take away from us. Right. And really, if you look at it, you go, okay, really, I mean, is the fact that maybe I'm not going to incorporate these foods or what I've always just binged on or filled my pantry with, is that really going to be taking away from your life, or is that going to actually be giving you life back? Because eventually you're going to pay for it one way or the other. Like I always say, you can pay for it on credit by continuing to make unhealthy choices now, and you'll pay for it later with your health, or you can invest in your wellness now, and then it will start, compound effect so that you have that health you want down the road. And so it's just not looking at, oh, what is this going to take away from me, but what is this going to give me? So let's talk about a couple practical things. I love to get into like, okay, so somebody's listening and I know she's raising her hand and saying, okay, Alicia, I'm ready. I've known for a while that I need to be making healthier choices. I know meal planning and stuff like that would make my life so much easier, but I don't even know where to start. So what would be a couple of things that you would say to her that could be some simple things that she can start doing right away to start this process of making healthier choices and making it simple?
Totally. So what not to do before I tell you what to do is, a lot of people, when they get excited, they go online, they look for new recipes. But really, the best first step is start with what you already know. Yes. Because you have eaten lots of food up till this day, and there's lots of things that you could just write down. So take a sheet of paper, cross a line down the middle of it. On the left-hand side, brainstorm 5 meal ideas that you know you enjoy and maybe you already know how to make. And I like working with people that don't really know how to cook. Because building the confidence there is that's easy for me. I can help. And
it saves you money. You're not depending on somebody else to cook it for you, and then whatever they put in there too, right?
Exactly. And so on the left hand side, or whatever, one side of the page, you write down the meal ideas that you enjoy, and then on the right side you write down the snacks that you enjoy. And so ideas could be like chili. Choose a country and make the chili from the country. There's a lot of countries. So right. Make a lot of chilies. So, or chili concept, whatever. So it could be Moroccan lentil soup, right? That's what I'm saying is maybe a chili or whatever. They have bean dishes too in Morocco, whatever. And I just randomly chose Morocco because I love their spices.
Yes, fun. It's amazing what spices can do to something, right? We don't have to have all the fat and the additives and the sugar to make it taste good. I find the healthy, the more you start appreciating the flavors.
Yeah, lemon, lime juice, and some spices, and you're good to go. Cumin on its own tastes like it's a spice blend, and it's just a seed ground. It's amazing. I get excited about the little things, because if we aren't excited about the little things, then, because the big things like the wedding, the birthday, those things only happen so often, you know what I mean? So little things really add up because they happen daily.
Right. I like to say a healthy lifestyle includes planned indulgences like the birthdays, like the weddings, those celebrations. But like you said, that's not every day. That's just, the once in a while. And then you fully enjoy that, right? Because it's something that you're there for a purpose. It's not just, this is what I feel like in the moment. And then you go back to your healthy choices, the other 98% of the time.
Absolutely. So take this list, you got this list, and you keep adding to it. So you put it on the refrigerator somewhere that's visible, and you just keep adding to it. So every week, if you spent like 10 minutes building this, you'd have, like in a month, you'd have 20 meals.
Right.
And so then you go, okay, so you got your 20 meals or maybe more, and then you add variety, right? Instead of broccoli, you do the other vegetables. And then you just switch out the vegetables, you switch out the proteins, and instead of chicken and salmon, a lot of people do chicken and salmon. There's more animal proteins out there if you're an animal protein eater, and there's lots of vegetarian or plant-based protein options out there. So the second most important essential step in meal planning is variety. If you don't have enough variety, which is what I was getting with the chicken and salmon situation, or chicken and fish, is if you don't have enough variety, you're going to get bored. And what happens when you get bored is different than me or anybody else. So some people might get a pint of ice cream, or it might be like a bag of cookies or whatever, or it could be like a bag of chips. So whatever the thing is that's challenging to you, I'm not saying don't have these things. I'm just saying, like, oftentimes when variety doesn't happen, and like, oh, I keep having salad for lunch.
Then of course you're going to want the chips. They're going to sound way better. So are the cookies, right?
Exactly. So like have variety, like don't have salad forever unless you're totally, if that's your thing, awesome. But for most people, variety is really, really important. I know some people are cool with having like similar foods because it gives them a level of comfort. So that's fine. But like essentially most of us need variety.
Yeah, I know yourself on that, right? Like I'm the kind of girl, I basically have the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day. And then dinner is what I mix up. But I love my breakfast and my lunch. And if I have something else, I don't feel the same. And so I just kind of, it's healthy and it's easy. And so that's, but it works for me, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could switch off between like overnight oats and egg breakfast, alternating, just having different vegetables, whatever. Just keep it simple. And like I was just gonna give like those of you have Trader Joe's where you live?
Not right where I live. I used to, but yes, I know there are a lot more. We live in a rural area now, so it's not here yet.
Okay, more grass.
I love them though.
So those of you who live near Trader Joe's, they have these really cool crackers. They're called Norwegian crisp breads. It's a big cracker, so it's like the equivalent of a piece of bread. There's gluten-free version. There's a non-gluten-free version. I usually get the gluten-free one because that's the one I've tasted. So why change when you've already tasted one you like? I usually like to taste them for people I'm working with them. But so you could take this cracker, and it's one cracker. A lot of people have a problem with like those smaller crackers. And the smaller the cracker, the harder it is to like not have more. Like if it's funny shape, that might even be harder. I like bunnies.
I haven't ever thought about that. Oh, what I'll do. So here's my true confession, right? If there's a broken one, I'll like eat all the broken ones out. Cause I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to leave any broken ones in the bag. So then I tend to end up eating more than I should just because I'm trying to clean up the broken ones.
That's what moms do.
Right? Oh, totally.
Watch out for that.
So what do you recommend with this cracker? When I get to Trader Joe's next time, I'm going to have to make sure I grab some of these. What would you put on top of that?
So any kind, so one of the protein salads, so like salmon salad, tuna salad, egg salad. What else is it? I mean, some people like shrimp salad, tofu, no egg salad. So any of those like protein salads, or you could just do a hard-boiled egg with some tapenade or ricotta cheese with pesto and like cherry tomatoes or cucumbers, hummus with cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, veggies. The other day I had, what did I have? I had goat cheese with, I warmed up some artichoke hearts.
Ah, yum.
And I added, those of you guys who know the spice called za'atar, it's ZA''TAR. It's a Middle Eastern spice and it's delicious. It's amazing. You would never think that this tasted like the ingredients are thyme, dried oregano, and sesame seeds, but it tastes like amazing. So try za'atar. So the cracker with fromage blanc is another cheese with blueberries and black pepper or fennel seeds. So I got a little fancy on you.
But see, those are all simple things. And what I love, and here's what I'm picking up on, and I trust our listeners are hearing this as well. This doesn't have to be difficult. You can just have your package of your gluten-free crackers, right? These large crackers. And then you get to like mix and match what your toppings are, right? So it doesn't have to be boring because it doesn't have to be the same every time, but it also doesn't have to be complicated. Like it can literally be, I'm gonna put a protein source on here and then maybe some other kind of condiment, whether it's, I heard you mention cheeses, or I love tahini, pesto, some marinara, like something else to go on there. And then you've got simple and you've got healthy, and it's fun to mix things up and try different things. That's why I love like having people like you in my life that just inspire me to get out of my rut. So what I make, like for my lunch, I make I call it a kale protein bowl. So kale is my base instead of like having like the grain based. And then I will put, whatever veggies I happen to have left over, or, fresh ones in my fridge. And I'll usually do one of our farm fresh eggs, or I'll do some salmon left over, or whatever. So I kind of mix and match. And then I, put some different toppings on, but yeah, then it just keeps it simple. And, and I love that. So, and there's such a great payoff when you're making healthy choices and you're having fun doing it. Guess what? You want to keep doing it, right? Like it seems like that's your goal, is to help people enjoy this process, because here's the thing. We will have to think about food for the rest of our life, right? We will have to think about what is going into our mouth for the rest of our life. So we might as well start enjoying the process and put healthy things in there. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And like the idea of like having I have a like an entree salad template that I share with folks in my meal planning program. That's my meal planning program is called Quick and Delish. And so it's like it's the 4 seasons. And then there's different like ideas for proteins. It's a table, so it's different ideas for proteins and the greens, whatever lettuces, greens, and then salad dressings and toppings, and then more vegetables, because you can have like a raw vegetable base, and then you can add cooked vegetables or some raw vegetables. And I like a combination of the two. And sometimes I heat up the cooked vegetables because then it's nice to have like cold and warm together. I love that.
So fun. Like, I'm getting hungry listening to this and thinking about it, because we're recording this right before lunchtime, my time. So I know this is something we could talk about on and on, because you are super passionate about it. You've got so many great ideas. And again, we all have to think about this very day. So if somebody is listening and they're like, okay, I want to get started, but I want some support. And here's one of the things I love sharing, my favorite quote: never DIY your greatest priorities. Because when you have somebody else helping you on that journey, you can get farther and faster and easier to where you want to be than just trying to figure it out on your own. Right. So you are a great resource. And I would love for you to share what do you have to offer? How can people find you? What would be a good next step if they want to say, hey, how can I, learn? You mentioned, a Quick and Delish, what would be some places people can look?
Absolutely. So you could look me up, check out me on YouTube, Quick and Delish by Alicia Connor. That's Ma. And then also I have my next meal planning program, which is a 4-workshop series that starts April 16th. And that is 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time. And what's that? 3 to 4 Eastern time. And those of you guys who are in Central time can figure it out. But sorry. But so it's $147 for 4 workshops. So we meet 4 Saturdays in a row, and you get the foundation of meal planning in there. You get resources, and you'll create the form that I described with the 2 columns. That's in that program. And then and I have a bunch of folks in my my meal planning program. It's a membership, and I started in October 2020. And I have everybody that paid for the first year paid for the second year because they love it, like accountability. And so I do a workshop, and then I open up for Q&A and discussion. So there's this sense of getting stuck together.
Right. Or getting unstuck together. Right. Like, let's focus on the positive outcome. I love that. Right. Because like you said, like I shared in your bio, it's about having this toolkit of resources that can help you better do the things that are important to you. And that's why I love bringing on people that have a passion for different areas, because you can help shorten the learning curve, right? You can help take some of the thinking out of it. So I don't have to get overwhelmed at the grocery store, or even, looking at my internet and all the ideas it's bringing up. I can just say, hey, here's some, I can learn from somebody like you. So we will put all of those links in the comments and the show notes, so that way you guys can grab those. I encourage you to follow her as well, just so that you can always be seen when there's new stuff coming out. And here's one rule that I always like to say. So as it relates to health and wellness, or any goal in any area of your life that you want to work on, what would you, with your goal achieved, choose today? Right. So if you're thinking about like your health and your healthy eating, right, and you think about who are you with your goal achieved, maybe that's that girl that you're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, right? Like almost like if she were standing right next to you today, what would she choose to put into her mouth? Right? What would she choose to invest in? Healthy choices? Would she choose to invest in cooking her own food? Would she choose to invest in quality ingredients? And would she choose to invest in someone who can help make that easy? Like, yes, yes, and yes, right? And so when we start showing up today as that goal achieved girl, you will get to her faster and easier than you ever expected, right? So I'm going to drop in the comments a link to one of my really big gifts that I love to share. And it's the Goal-Acheived Girl to Be list, because so often we just think it's just about doing, and it's about being her first, and then starting to think and believe and feel and act like she would today, because that's the only way that she got to where she is. So I will put that in the comments as well. I encourage you guys to do 2 things. 1, make sure you grab the resources, because you're going to want to hang on to those for yourself. But 2, I want you to share this podcast episode with someone. I want you to think about, who do I know that would benefit from healthy living? AKA everybody, right? There's not a person on the planet who wouldn't benefit. And even somebody who's already working on healthy choices, we always have more room to grow and learn, right? So share this with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, your own kids, your spouse. Like, just really think, like, how can I bless somebody else with some healthy choices? So love that. Anything else that you want to share with us before we go, Alicia?
I talk a lot about the notion of the future self,
Mm.
and it's like, you are your future self right now. So whatever you want to feel and live in the future, that's who you are today. And like you said, the next choice, there's a sequence of choices in your future, and at any moment you could make it's not the best choice, right? Like, not having a brownie is not necessarily the best choice, because it might be satisfying to share it with somebody, whatever. But you have an opportunity to make a choice at any moment in the direction that you want to go in, which is your future self and your like identity. But
she will be the consequence, good or bad, of the choices you've made up until that point.
Right. Live a conscious life, right?
Yeah. So good. So I love this, because you alluded to the 7 F's that we talk about. So I love the fact that you're listening in and you're tuned into this. I always like to end my interview with this question. So of the 7 F's, which are faith, family, friendships, your field of work, which could be a career working for somebody else, a business, it could even be full-time being a mom, a grandma, or volunteering. What do you do for work during your day? Finances, fitness, which is mental and physical wellness, and fun. Which of those areas for you, Alicia, if you really put that intention and attention into in this next year, would make the biggest difference for you?
I think I'm so glad you didn't make me just choose one. I was like, it's gonna be really hard.
What do I say? What do I say?
I'm gonna go with faith, finances, and fitness, because I just went to, pandemic, whatever, everything's different, but I really love Orange Theory. I know not everybody has Orange Theory, but it's what is it? It's interval training. And so it just feels amazing. So I just did my first interval training class since before the pandemic, and it was just like, it's so on fire for me. I just do something like that, like once a week or once every 2 weeks. I don't like to do the same thing repeatedly, because I like variety.
I can tell.
Exercise. and then so that's added back into my life, so I'm very excited about that. And then faith in that what I'm doing, I'm making my content for my meal planning program accessible to the blind and visually impaired. Of course, it's open for anyone, because anybody would benefit from it, but that's really important for me. So it's like a passion project, which is within all the other stuff I'm doing. And then having faith, knowing that all will work out, and if I continue making the choices that are best for me, then I will be living the life that I want. And then finances is it kind of matches with all the projects, like it all, like having faith that finances will work out.
Yeah, I love that. So good, right? And they all have a ripple effect, right? And they allow us to serve and show up in a bigger way. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your heart and your story, and just your vision for where you're going and how you're serving others and helping them to live well. I appreciate that. I encourage you as listeners to reach out and to grab those resources. And until next time, make sure to keep living on purpose and create a life that you love by design. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.